cruising altitude for commercial pilots, commercial planes, was kind of like 10,000 feet, 15,000 feet in elevation. They were flying through the turbulence. Propeller airplanes. Yet, commercial aviation, they didn't really have any jets, motors. They had more like propeller airplanes. And even as they were bumpy as heck, people confided in those airplanes. They felt comfortable. And when the jet engines came into the picture, commercial pilots, commercial aviation, people were scared of it. They were scared of it. But the technology right now hasn't changed. And that technology was used for the U-2 spy plane. So cruising altitude was 15 and 10,000 feet. The U-2 spy plane came in at 70,000 feet plus. Unheard of from people back in the days. Top speed was roughly about 500 feet. Top speed was about 500 miles per hour. At about 13 miles straight up. In 1955, a lot of people, that technology supposedly did not exist. And that's where it's a UFO. And the whole history of UFOs was born due to what they call the U-2 spy plane. But a lot of theorists, a lot of individuals that believe in aliens, they don't believe that it was due to the U-2 spy plane. They just said it's due to an individual called Bob Lazar. Bob Lazar says he worked at SR-4. Basically, it's a military base next to Area 51. It is in the area 51, because the Nevada gunnery range began to get mapped out when the Project Aquatone, they were mapping out a secret area. And you have Area 1, Area 2, Area 3, and the military base where they tested the U-2 spy plane just happened to be under what they call Area 51. And so, Bob Lazar was a physicist. And Bob Lazar, somehow he began to work in S4, and he said that he saw 9 UFO spaceships. He saw 9 UFO spaceships. And that his job was he was given the task of figuring out, doing a reverse engineering on an element called Element 115. Element 115 basically was the energy source from these UFOs. Try to find out how it worked. It was very unstable. It was difficult to remanufacture or kind of like reinvent. So that's what his job was. And he liked like 9 UFO ships and little chairs and little doors, little windows. And he said one time he was walking down the hall. He peeked into the little glass window. He saw 2 security guys, and in the center they had what he saw an alien sitting in a little chair. And everybody called them the kids. That's what they call them, the aliens. Now there's a lot of individuals that say there's the lizard aliens that are the really bad aliens you want nothing to do, to very friendly, very nice aliens, the grays, the greens, different kind of aliens. But of course, Area 51 was established through the history of military, was established to test the U-2 spy plane. So all the areas were being surveyed by military officials, by military pilots, by CIA directors. They surveyed the whole Southwest, and it found an area which offered seclusion, secrecy, a dry lake bed, which they called Groom Lake. Or like I said, they were mapped out as Area 51. That's really not the the history of the U-2 spy plane or the military inventions built and tested in the Area 51 that has captivated people for years. But the possibilities of hidden and researching extraterrestrial spacecraft and even alien life forms. Or what they do of reverse engineering alien technology or power source called, when I say Element 115. So, is Bob Lazar kind of telling the truth? Did he invent what he saw to get fame? In 1985, he was interviewed. A secret interview in which it didn't show his face. It was more like a shadow. And he was being interviewed inside like a van by a news reporter. That news reporter, I'm trying to recall his name, George Knapp. He still works in Vegas. He's a news reporter. And so basically, he called himself in the interview, he called himself, what's your name? George Knapp said, my name is Bob. Or actually, he called himself Dennis. His real name was Bob Lazar. And as a little kid, they knew him as a kid with a little jet engine on the bicycle, and he threw bombs and a lot of scientific things in his neighborhood. So he kind of caught the eye of these CIA directors and military officials, and he was given the job as a reverse engineer physicist, trying to find out the power source, how it worked. And he wanted to release the information to the public, and he did this interview saying that he saw the aliens and that he saw the 9 spacecraft, the UFOs. Now my question is it true? Is it not true? You know, there's a lot of theories out there. Why would CIA or military officials try to kind of like hide that he worked there? Because George Knapp did investigation to find out. Let's find out if he really did work there, and his name was in the directory. And so he called these military officials and said, well, did Bob Lazar work in Area 51? He said, we don't know the guy. So why is his name under directory? Like I said, we don't know the guy, he doesn't work here. Then he showed his W-2s that he did work for the military. And they were like harassing him. The CIA was harassing him, the military was harassing him under threats, force. So that's when he revealed his true name, Bob Lazar. He said he did it for his security, for safety, to know who he was, just in case he came up missing or anything happened to him. So, does that technology exist? Well, there is the GSI meeting, the Health Home Center. In 2013 was reported by Swedish chemists that they did replicate the power source. So, are they doing a breakthrough in which there is UFOs, there is aliens, there is alien technology? Does it exist? Maybe it does, because in 2013, like I said, it was reported by Swedish chemists that they did a breakthrough on Element 115 that powered the UFOs, but before it was in the mineral table of contents, the mineral, the element. It wasn't there before. Now it is. It's called 115MC. It is a very unstable element. It's called moscovium. That's what they call it now. So are they getting closer to that reverse engineering of element 115? Was Bob Lazar telling the truth? So they say that the element is very extremely unstable. Very unstable. So imagine that. But here's another interesting thing that occurred in March the 13th, 1997. It is reported as the biggest UFO case witnessed by hundreds in Arizona. They titled it the Phoenix Lights. Very supernatural. It remains unsolved, unexplained till now. It's still unsolved. It is said that in a triangle, a V formation triangle, that 5 lights appeared above the Phoenix, Arizona area. And that the National UFO Reporting Center reports that the first calls came in at 8:16 at night from, first one, a retired police officer in Paulden, Arizona. He saw a cluster of red-orange lights in a V form or a triangle form formation. And there's a trajectory, and what witnesses say it came kind of like from Nevada, and it circled a little bit east, going south. It was seen all the way to Mexico, and then it kind of like did a trajectory back to Nevada. Could that have been a UFO that did the trajectory out of Area 51 and back to Area 51? So, over 700 witnesses claimed they saw these lights from pilots, police officers, military officials. Many statements were said that described the phenomena as lighted orbs, others as triangles, or others as a singular massive craft. The government said, no, it's not true, this did not happen, and then they said, okay, it did happen, and they say they were flares that were kind of like on a little bit of little parachutes. But then they say they saw the video, and it just can't be replicated because the descent of a flare on a little parachute, they're not even. It would be really offset. So, but then there's witnesses said that the craft, it couldn't have been helicopters, it couldn't have been jets, it couldn't have been flares. There was no noise. So what was it? The only video that recorded the event, recorded at 10 p.m. at night by an individual called Terry Proctor. He's the only one that captured the video, so the video's out there online. And then later on throughout the night, there was a second view of a V shape of lights. This time it was about 9 lights. Could it have been a different craft? Or could it have been the same one? So a lot of people have their testimonies, what they saw, and it all coincided. So the governor, he stood up on a podium. He called for kind of like a news conference, and he said, "Yeah, we know what happened." So he claimed he knew the individual responsible and brought out the accused. As a joke, he brought out a person in a costume and an alien. People were upset. They thought he was making a joke out of it, which he did. But people wanted answers. Later on, he makes his own statement that he himself saw it. And he pressed the military officials, the government, to give him answers. He never got anything. So that's just the biggest witness of a craft in the sky at night. The Phoenix Lights. So we know, of course, that